All right. So, hey, welcome. My name is James Edgar, and today I have my special guest. Go ahead and introduce yourself.
Hello, I'm R. Haven. I'm a horror author, the author of a book called The Other Face of Sympathy, which came out here in September this year.
And do you have a copy? Okay, so do you have a copy of your book baby, your horror book baby?
I do. It is right here. Got the creepy hands coming in on my protagonist there.
And it looks like it's in a library.
It is set in a book exchange rather than a bookstore. So something close to a library, yeah, where the main character actually brings in um, old used diaries of his grandmother's, and in exchange, he gets diaries from people who turned into monsters.
Oh, so what is this? Okay, so that's the central plot of your story.
Yeah, that's kind of what it all is built around.
Okay, and what inspired you to write this story?
Uh, Trauma mostly, my own and everyone else's. Um, I I wanted to look at the ways that society looks at people who've undergone these changes because of the trauma they've suffered. Um, and a lot of the time, society makes monsters out of them. Um, they blame them. There's a lot of victim blaming that goes around. Uh, there's like no access to supports for so many people. Um, yeah, this book was me exploring the ways that trauma can change you.
And can you go ahead and read a little bit from your book? Just a little bit
I
from like the
can.
first page.
The first page, let's open that up here. Hold on, I'm gonna have to put down my microphone
Yes, put down the robot penis.
briefly. Yeah, the first page. I'd never looked at St. Vincent de Paul's from a place of privilege before. I noticed tarnish on the metal rungs of the banister and wondered how much it would cost to replace the crumbling step. Stuff I hadn't even noticed when I was 17 and frequenting the shelter on bitter winter days. Difficult to be spoiled enough for aesthetic to matter. Sure, St. Vincent de Paul's couldn't sweep the body lice under the threadbare rugs, and I still woke up some mornings without shoes, but that would have been the case anywhere. The doorway still sported a couple of tiny plastic flags, one striped with blue, pink, and white, the other a proud rainbow. I knew who I was going to see and that she'd have a smile for me. That's why I kept coming back. I held the stuffed floral suitcase up the short flight of stone steps, carbon dioxide exploding out of my tight lungs. A space heater hummed in greeting beyond the front door, but the temperature was no better inside than outside. The worn linoleum looked dirty, despite the wet floor sign in front of the intake desk for donations. I'll be right with you. The ruddy-faced woman at the desk had her eyes on her phone's touchscreen, her candy red clacking away against the surface. Her grays were covered up by the same vivid colors she painted her nails. She looked up and, precisely as expected, beamed upon recognizing me. Oh, Edward, it's been an age. Look at you. Hi, Janice. I'm not here to check in. That's just a bit from the first page.
All right. So your very first line was, uh, I'd never looked at St. Vincent de Paul's from a place of privilege before.
Hmm.
So how did that change throughout your writing process and your editing process?
It originally, when I first started the book, it was all centered around this book exchange, which yeah works kind of like a library. So I originally started the book with Edward arriving there, and it just wasn't working. It felt too abrupt. There was no context for who Edward was or why you should care about him. Um, so instead, I walked it back. Okay, let's start him from where his journey really starts, which is when his grandmother dies and he inherits her apartment. Because he's the only living family left, and he'd been unhoused since he was a teenager before then.
Okay. And so you have an agent, yes, correct?
I do.
Okay. And
Yes,
so your
Caitlin
agent,
Katsoupas from Belcastro.
okay.
Oh, sorry.
It's okay. So repeat if you want to share that, go ahead, repeat it.
Yeah. Yeah, I have an agent that's Caitlin Bell, sorry, Caitlin Katsoupas from Belcastro Agency.
And Caitlin Katsoupas is actually a pretty well-known agent within the literary community. So from what I understand, she's incredibly selective. So you, my friend, you lucked out.
I'm
She must have loved what you had.
oh,
Um,
I count myself very, very fortunate. This was actually not the book that she signed. Um, it's an entirely different one that is still on submission, but it got her attention, and she's been my biggest supporter on my other works as well.
okay. And how did she have you edit your opening?
Uh, so again, it wasn't this book that she signed, but the way that she had me edit the opening to the book that she did first sign, um, it it's always about like drawing the reader in closer and closer and closer to the protagonist's point of view, right? Like, um, originally we looked at the opening and went like, okay, what if it was in first person? Would that make it more effective? We tried it, didn't work very well on that book, so we switched it back to third, but still brought the perspective in as close as we possibly could to what this character is feeling and what this character is experiencing in their day to day. Um, Especially because that book featured a disabled protagonist. She's in a wheelchair, and we really wanted to nail like what that what is mundane to her that should spark outrage. Um, because I am also physically disabled and experience a lot of these things. So yeah, we tried to make it as personal as possible.
What advice do you have for an author who is trying to bring in they have a third person perspective, but they're trying to bring the author in closer to the character. What words of wisdom do you have for that author?
Uh, there are a lot of resources that will tell you to never just say what the character is feeling, like to describe the sensation of the emotion almost. And I my advice is to use that advice, but selectively. Um, there are definitely times when you want to like explain anxiety as like the way your gut churns and the way your like chest feels like tight and cold. But if you do that for every single emotion, it's gonna get old really, really fast. And there are other ways to bring the reader in um, by just kind of reflecting the inner monologue and making that the narration instead of saying what's going on or saying what's going on internally, even. You can have the character's thoughts essentially spill onto the page and it will do the same thing. Um, just yeah, keep it in third person at the same time, and it suddenly reads as a very visceral, like you're right there with them.
Okay. So Basically, what you're saying is you have to strike a balance between showing and telling.
Very much. Because yeah, a lot of a lot of the rhetoric is, like always show, never tell. Um, in some cases, you want to tell, but like tell it the way your character would tell it, not the way you as the narrator wants to tell it. Like, if that makes sense. You want to, yeah.
It it does when when I work with an author, someone who's just starting out, voice is always the thing that I say is the hardest. And the only way to nail
Mhm.
the voice is to understand exactly who your character is. If you don't know who
Mhm.
your character is, you're not going to understand their worldview, how they feel things, how they interpret things, and I think that you kind of struck that note there when you said, you've got to figure out how your character reacts or is involved in the mundane, what we would consider the mundane,
Mhm.
but perhaps is not mundane for them.
Yeah, yeah, absolutely.
All right. Well, do you have any other words of wisdom to share for our viewers before we say goodbye?
I want every author who's about to query to know that it is hell. You are absolutely valid for your frustration and the sadness and the hurt. It does not mean you should give up, but definitely like don't don't torture yourself with the querying process. Like take it at whatever pace you need to. There is time. You can go get an agent with your next book maybe, or maybe it is the book you're working on, but in like a couple of years when the trends start coming. Like don't discount your work. Don't discount your feelings either.
And don't auto reject.
Exactly. Don't auto reject. That is a big, big one where a lot of authors I see go into things and go like, oh, well, this agent says they want this thing and this thing and this thing, and I have something close to that, but it's not exact. And I go quote them anyway. Like maybe it will hit a chord for them and be like, oh, this is a new way of approaching this topic that I hadn't thought about, and I like it. Like, yeah, never auto reject. You just never know.
All right. Well, I thank you very much for appearing on The First is the Worst. And I will have the link to your website so that viewers might potentially be who are interested might potentially purchase it. Is it available digitally as well, or what platforms is it available on?
Yeah. It is available in paperback at like Barnes and Noble and Indigo in Canada. Also on Amazon if you want to go that route. But it is also available on ebook. There's a ton of ebook platforms that I believe it's available through. Um, and if you go to my website, under my list of works, it will take you to kind of like a hub that you can choose where you want to buy it from.
All right. Well, I'll make sure that that's in the details, and I thank you very much for appearing on The First is the Worst.
Oh, thank you.